This is a story about the mines and the town of Tonopah, Nevada. This old mine town is about 3.5 hours northwest of Las Vegas. It was back in the spring of 1900 that a man by the name of Jim Butler was traveling from Belmont when he set up camp in an area known back then as Tonopah Springs. This spot was an area that local natives used to camp out at. Anyways, the next day Jim woke up only to find out that his donkey had gotten loose and wandered off. Following his tracks, he soon came upon his donkey, and he just so happened to notice that the donkey was standing beside an outcropping of rock that was rich in silver ore. Butler grabbed a few samples and continued on, and when he got to town he took these samples to have them assayed. The assayer took the samples and later told Butler they were just iron and were basically useless. Butler then took the samples home and had them sitting on a windowsill. A short time later, one of Butler's friends, Tasker Oddie, stopped by and while visiting noticed these samples. Tasker took the samples to another assayer that he knew who lived in the mine town of Austin. These assays returned values of $600 per ton. $600 back in 1900 was a whole lot of money considering the average annual wage back then was only a few $100. Tasker, who was a lawyer, ended up partnering with Jim Butler and helped finance early mining ventures in Tonopah. He later became the governor of Nevada and a United States senator. Assay results like that tend to get leaked, and soon there were other eager miners and prospectors poking around the area, but no one seemed to find much of anything of value. Seems none of the other prospectors came across this same spot where Butler found that outcropping. Then, in the late summer of that same year, Butler filed the claims where this rich deposit was and started the Jim Butler Mining Company. These claims were the Burro, Valley View, Mizpah, Desert Queen, Silvertop, and the Buckboard. The first claim to see mining started was the Mizpah mine. This mine would eventually become one of the largest and longest-running mines in the district. At first, this camp was just called Butler, and by Christmas of that same year there were 14 men living in this camp. After a year of working the mine, Butler decided to lease out his claims, taking 25% of the ore. Once word got out that miners could lease these claims, people really started to move into the area, and by the end of January 1901 there was 40 men in the camp. In April of that year the camp got a post office. By the summer of 1901 the district had already produced $750,000 worth of gold and silver. By the end of that same year there was said to be 650 people in the camp, along with several saloons, a couple of stores, a doctor, and even a lawyer. In 1902 Jim Butler sold all of his interest to a company called the Tonopah Mining Company. This new company greatly expanded the operations with shafts reaching depths of 1,500 feet. Ores were shipped out to be treated because there was no way to treat the ores at that time. Another company called the Tonopah Belmont Mining Company also started up that same year. This mine eventually had 2 shafts, reaching 1,200 feet and 1,700 feet with tunnels and stopes covering almost 39 miles. In 1912, the mine got a 60 stamp mill and was said to be able to pound out 500 tons of ore each day. By the end of 1902, the camp is said to have had a population of over 3,000 people. This booming mine camp now had 32 saloons, a couple of newspapers, 2 dance halls, 2 churches, and a couple of daily stages. In the spring of 1903, the Tonopah mining stocks were listed on the San Francisco Stock Exchange. Then came 1905, which was a big year for the town. Not only was the name changed from Butler to Tonopah, but the Tonopah and Goldfield Railroad came to town and connected with the nearby town of Goldfield. In 1907, the town saw the opening of the Mizpah Hotel. This was one of the fanciest hotels in the West and offered luxuries unlike anywhere else. Costing $200,000 to build, this 5-story building offered steam heat, stained glass, and chandeliers, and was the first building in the state to have an electric elevator. In 1914, this hotel was the site of a bold robbery. According to local lore, the hotel's basement was the site of a heist involving 3 miners. These men allegedly planned to rob the bank vault within the hotel by accessing it through the underground mining tunnels that crisscross beneath the town. However, greed led to betrayal. One conspirator turned on his partners, murdering them both and absconding with the stolen loot. The bodies of the 2 miners were later discovered in the tunnels beneath the hotel, but the third man and the money were never found. Some people say this hotel is haunted with the ghosts of those murdered miners. Mining stayed strong in the district until after the First World War, at which time only a few of the major mines stayed running. However, by the end of the Second World War, all of the mines had shut down. The real nail in the coffin came in 1947 when the railroad closed down and the tracks were removed. Then in 1968, Howard Hughes bought around 100 claims, and this sparked a whole new round of speculation that the mines would start back up. However, nothing really happened aside from a few core samples being taken along with some retimbering of some shafts. All these old towns that had lots of big money floating around saw lots of different characters come around, and Tonopah was no different. Ever hear about a man named Jack Longstreet? Well, he was known as being the last of the desert frontiersmen and was said to hang out around Tonopah. Jack roamed the southern Nevada deserts, worked in mining, prospecting, saloon bartender, bouncer, and was also a hired gun. Over the years, the total production from the Tonopah mining district was in excess of 5 million tons of ore that produced over 174 million ounces of silver and just under 2 million ounces of gold. Arithmetic wasn't one of my better subjects, so I'll let you guys figure out how much that is in today's dollar amount out on your own. You can still go to the town of Tonopah today. It's still an active place with around 2,000 people. The town offers all the services one would expect in a town that size. Going on the main highway through town, you will pass the old famous Mizpah Hotel. If you are a mining history buff, there is the Tonopah Historic Mining Park. This park is 100 acres in size and offers visitors a first-hand look at what mining was like back in the day. Well, that's it for this week's video. I hope you enjoyed this short story about the mines and the town of Tonopah. Please like, share, and subscribe so we can continue to bring you more old, lost mine stories.